Hey everyone, and welcome back to the AnzenGuard podcast. I'm Michael Reynolds.
And I'm Laura Wilson.
As always, it's great to have you here, Laura.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Today we're taking a deep dive into something that's pretty crucial for anyone using the internet these days.
Yeah, for sure.
VPN encryption.
It's like the secret code that keeps all your stuff online actually secret.
It is kind of like a secret code.
It is a secret code.
So let's break it down a bit. What is it that a VPN is actually hiding when we're browsing online?
Okay, so every time you connect to the internet, you're leaving a trail, kind of like footprints,
Right.
your IP address, which is like your online home address that's visible, and then your location can be tracked. And even your browsing history, like all the websites you visit, that's recorded.
Wow, I never really thought about it like that.
It's all recorded.
That's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, and that information can be accessed by your internet service provider, hackers, and even advertisers.
So how does a VPN step in and act as a shield against all of that?
Well, a VPN creates what's called an encrypted tunnel. So imagine a secret, super fast highway, but just for your data.
Okay.
All your internet traffic, everything you do online travels through this tunnel. And because it's encrypted, it becomes totally unreadable to anyone trying to snoop around.
So it's like sending a message in a coded language that only the intended person can understand.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So no one else can intercept it.
Nope. And here's something that might surprise you. Did you know that your ISP is actually required by law to store your browsing history
My browsing history.
for 90 days?
Seriously, even if I'm using incognito mode or whatever.
Yes, it's true.
Wow.
It's all thanks to something called the Electronic Communication Transactional Records Act.
Okay.
It's been around for a while.
So even if I think I'm browsing privately, all that information is still being logged somewhere.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's a little unnerving, I gotta be honest.
It can be a little creepy.
But you mentioned encryption being a key part of this VPN protection, so how does that actually work?
Right. So the encryption method is like the lock on that secret data highway we were talking about. And the gold standard is something called AES encryption, which stands for Advanced Encryption Standard.
Okay, so how strong are we talking here?
Picture this. You take a simple message and turn it into a crazy complex code that's practically impossible to break without the right key.
Got it.
That's AES. It basically makes your data into a jumbled mess that can only be unscrambled by the website or server you're trying to reach.
So even if someone managed to get their hands on my data, it would just look like a bunch of gibberish.
Exactly, like trying to read a book in a language you've never seen before.
And there are different levels of strength within AES, right?
Yeah, you've got AES 128, AES 192, and the strongest AES 256, which is so secure that governments and military organizations use it.
Wow, so my data's in good company then.
It really is.
Are there other types of encryption besides AES?
There are a few others, like public key encryption and symmetric encryption, but AES is widely used for VPNs, and it's generally considered the most secure.
Okay, so we've got this encryption thing down, but I've also heard about VPN protocols. What are those, and how do they fit into all of this?
VPN protocols are basically like the rules of the road for your encrypted tunnel.
Okay.
They determine how that VPN connection is established and how it stays up and running.
So different protocols have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly.
different.
Like some are known for their speed and some for their strong security, and some try to find a balance between the two.
Right.
So for example, OpenVPN is a super popular and very customizable protocol that's open source, which means anyone can look at the code, so it's very transparent and trustworthy.
Makes sense. What about other protocols? Are there any other ones that really stand out?
Yeah, there's IKEV2. It's super stable even if you're switching between networks, like going from Wi-Fi to your mobile data.
Right.
And it also uses minimal bandwidth, which is great if you're trying to save data on your phone.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed my data usage going up when I'm using a VPN.
Yeah.
So IKEV2 sounds like it could be a good option for me. Are there any protocols that I should just avoid altogether?
You know, there are some older protocols like PPTP, which stands for Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol,
Okay.
but those are considered insecure now. They've got some vulnerabilities and can be cracked pretty easily, so those are best to avoid.
So just to recap, when I'm looking for a VPN, I should keep an eye out for AES 256 encryption and either OpenVPN or IKE2.
Yep, that's a great starting point. Those are usually good signs of a secure and reliable VPN. But here's a question for you. Even with all these security measures, can a VPN actually be hacked?
That's a good question. And I'm sure it's one that a lot of our listeners are wondering about too.
Yeah.
So can a VPN be hacked?
Well, the short answer is yes. But it's not as easy as you might think. It really depends on a few things, mainly the strength of those security protocols and the encryption methods being used.
So it's like any other security system out there, I guess.
Mhm.
If there's a weak link, someone will eventually find a way to exploit it.
Exactly. But the good news is that reputable VPN providers are always working to stay one step ahead. They're constantly updating their systems, patching vulnerabilities. It's a never-ending game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, it sounds like a digital arms race almost, with each side trying to outsmart the other.
You got it. That's why it's called the encryption arms race. It's actually a super fascinating topic.
Maybe we'll have to do a whole deep dive on that someday.
We should.
Mm,
But for our listeners who are thinking about getting a VPN, what are the key things they should be looking for when choosing a provider?
that's a great question, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering that because there are so many options out there. It
Yeah,
can be pretty overwhelming.
it can be. So we've already talked about the importance of strong encryption and reliable protocols. AES 256 encryption is a must-have, and then protocols like OpenVPN and IKV2 are generally considered pretty secure and efficient. But beyond those basics, there are a few extra features that can really boost your privacy and security.
Oh, okay. Like,
Right.
One feature that I always recommend is a kill switch. It's kind of like a safety net for your connection.
a kill switch. What does that do?
So imagine you're connected to public Wi-Fi, right? You're using
Yeah.
your VPN to browse securely, and then suddenly your VPN connection drops. Without a kill switch, your internet traffic would go back to your regular unencrypted connection, exposing your IP address and all your data.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Not good.
Yeah.
So the kill switch basically acts like an emergency brake. It instantly cuts off your internet connection if the VPN tunnel fails for any reason.
Okay. So it's like a backup plan for my backup plan.
Exactly. You got it. You never want to be caught off guard.
Right. What other features should I be looking for?
Another one that's worth considering is threat protection. Some VPNs have these built-in tools that block malicious websites, ads, and trackers. It's like giving you an extra layer of defense against online threats.
It's like a bodyguard for your internet connection.
Yeah, exactly. And then for those who really want granular control over their data, some VPNs offer split tunneling.
Split tunneling. What's that?
So it lets you choose which apps or websites use the VPN connection and which ones just use your regular internet connection.
So, for example, I could have my banking app and email go through the VPN for maximum security,
Right.
but then stream movies using my regular connection.
Exactly. That's the idea.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
Hmm.
It can also be really handy for accessing local websites or devices on your network while still using the VPN for sensitive activities.
Okay, I'm learning a lot here. This is great stuff.
Good. And then if you're really serious about anonymity, there are some VPNs that offer something called multi-hop technology.
Multi-hop. Sounds intense.
It is. It basically routes your traffic through multiple VPN servers in different locations.
So more layers of protection.
Yeah, it makes it way harder for anyone to trace your online activity.
So it's like taking a bunch of connecting flights instead of a direct flight to your destination.
Yeah.
Makes it impossible to know where you started or where you're actually going.
Exactly. That's a
Right.
great analogy.
Wow, this is all incredibly helpful. I'm starting to feel like I can actually make an informed decision about choosing a VPN now. But there's one question that keeps coming back to me.
What's that?
If VPNs are so good at hiding our online activity, does that mean that they can be used for illegal activities?
That's a really important question, and it's one that comes up a lot. While VPNs can provide a certain level of anonymity, it's crucial to remember that they are not a license to break the law.
So using a VPN doesn't make you invisible to law enforcement.
Definitely not. Law enforcement agencies have their methods for investigating and tracking down illegal activity, even if a VPN is involved.
Right. It's just a tool at the end of the day.
Exactly. VPNs are tools. And like any tool, they can be used for good or for bad.
It's all about how they're used.
Yeah.
So we should all be striving to use VPNs responsibly and ethically.
I couldn't agree more. They're powerful tools that can enhance our privacy, security, and freedom online. But they need to be used for legitimate purposes. Think of it like this. It's a shield to protect yourself, not a weapon to harm others.
That's a great way to put it. But let's shift gears a bit. We've talked a lot about the technical side of VPNs, but I want to talk about the bigger picture. Why should our listeners really care about all of this? What's the real-world impact of VPN encryption?
That is a fantastic question, and it's definitely worth exploring. We'll get into that and more right after this.
Welcome back to the AnzenGuard podcast for the final part of our VPN encryption deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. It's been great. But now for the big question, the so what of it all. Why should our listeners care about all this VPN stuff?
Well, in today's world, our digital lives are so connected to our real lives.
Yeah.
What we do online has real consequences offline.
So it's not just about, protecting our data from hackers or something.
Right. It's about so much more than that. It's about protecting our freedom, our privacy, even our safety.
Okay, I see that.
Our online activity can reveal a lot about us, our political views, our religious beliefs, our financial situation, even our deepest thoughts and feelings.
Right, and all that information can be used against us.
Exactly. We've seen it happen. Governments using online data to silence people, corporations manipulating us with targeted ads, criminals stealing our identities.
Yeah, those are some pretty serious consequences.
They are, and that's where VPN encryption comes in. It gives us the power to decide who has access to our information and how it's used.
So it's like having control over our own digital lives.
Yes, exactly. It's like drawing a curtain around your online world, creating a space where you can be yourself without being judged or tracked.
I like that. A digital sanctuary.
That's a great way to put it. And that feeling of freedom and security is so important these days. It allows us to speak our minds online, access information freely, connect with people from all over the world without worrying about our privacy.
So VPN encryption isn't just about technology then. It's about empowering people and protecting their rights.
Absolutely. It's about creating a more democratic and equitable online world for everyone.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for all the insights, Laura.
My pleasure. I'm glad we could shed some light on this important topic.
Before we wrap up, though, I have one more question about free VPNs.
Yes, the free VPN dilemma.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, it's important to remember that nothing in life is truly free. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
So how do free VPNs make money then?
They often collect and sell user data to cover their costs.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of using a VPN in the first place, right?
Exactly, it does. So if you're serious about your online privacy and security, investing in a reputable paid VPN service is really the way to go.
Got it. So choose wisely, folks.
Yes, choose wisely.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into VPN encryption. Laura, it's always great having you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Always a pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in to the AnzenGuard podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with your friends. We'll see you next time.
Stay safe online, everyone.
This is Michael Reynolds and Laura Wilson signing off.